Welcome to Get to the Hook. I am your host, Charles Latibeaudiere, your co-host, that is.
And I'm your co-host, Eric Colley.
Indeed. So, I'm going to start with a bit of sad news. We have an obit that we have to do for the American Music Awards. Because this is, I'm going to say right away, this is not shade on Jennifer Lopez. Everyone knows I am a Jennifer Lopez stan. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I stand for Jennifer Lopez. So I'm not blaming her as the host of the 51st annual, and that number is a little suspect also, but the 51st annual American Music Awards that just went down in Las Vegas at the Fontainebleau. This is an obit because I'm sure you've heard by now that there was huge disappointment. Really, the only headline to come out of the American Music Awards that just went by is the fact that it was a massive disappointment. The list of people who didn't attend, and
that's the problem. It's not even about the ratings declining.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, the fans have left. The artists have left.
Right. Like ratings have been going down for award shows in general. Every now and then there's one that has a blip and actually does a good number. But TV ratings are down. Award show ratings are definitely down. But the American Music Awards, normally you have for the award shows, the artists show up anyway. But they didn't even get the big artists, and the artists they did get, most of them tended to skew a little older.
A little older. Yeah.
Shout out to Rod Stewart getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, which he deserved.
Yeah, 8 years old, still getting it. Rod Stewart's a legend. But yeah,
yes.
J-Lo opened the show. Let's give her credit. You know, people have always dogged her that she's not a great singer. She swung for the fences on the notes.
She swings
here.
for the fences.
Listen.
I agree. She's not. And even as a huge fan of hers, I know she's not a great singer, but that she doesn't have to be the world's
She's a
best
dance
singer.
artist like Janet Jackson's not Whitney Houston, you know?
Right.
But J-Lo, she went for it. Listen to a little bit of her opening number here.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah, she did it.
I'll take that. That's fine. And then she went into an opening number where she did more dancing, which is her thing.
Yeah. And interesting, the dancing she did was to a medley of last
other
year's biggest hits. And I thought about
other artists' songs,
right? And
because those artists weren't there.
There's nobody there.
Those artists normally show up and they perform those songs.
I don't think of all the artists that were in that medley, maybe Shabuzi is the only one who was actually there.
Correct.
And doing a little medley of the year's hits is kind of cool, just to set up what's coming. But when you don't have any of the performers to show up and do those songs or to, make speeches, that's not great.
Now, I said at the top this is an obit, but the reality is there will be another American Music Awards because CBS and Paramount just paid a lot of money, I'm sure, to get the contract.
Being the 51st, like you said, it's a little weird on the counting here. So the American Music Awards started in 1974. So this year should be the 52nd because 74 is 51 years ago, but each year is an individual episode. The American Music Awards haven't aired since 2022.
Yeah.
And the 49th one, because they were on ABC from the beginning until that contract expired. And the whole reason they existed, Dick Clark from American Bandstand started the American Music Awards, and ABC wanted them as competition for the Grammys.
Which, for a long time, it really was. And it would traditionally, they would air it either a month or even, there were some years where it was 2 or 3 months before the Grammy Awards.
Yeah, I think it started in January and then backed up to November.
Right.
And that's when they would do it. ABC lost the license. CBS got it. There was a couple gap years there. Last fall, CBS did a 50th anniversary special.
Which apparently they were counting as the
50th episode.
50th episode, even though there were no awards given out. They were just looking back at the history of the show, of the award show. So, yes, it's suspect to call it the 51st. And I just feel like it felt to me watching it like the death of this award show, even though it will probably go on. I'm sure it will.
It was sad.
Because I remember it as a child growing up watching, and I was never an award show kid. Like, I don't think I ever watched really watched the Oscars until I moved to LA and I was working in this industry covering it. But I always watched the American Music Awards and the Grammys because I always loved music. And so those were the award shows I watched. And I remember, the one that always stands out to me is 1985, and it was in January, the American Music Awards. Lionel Richie was hosting. The reason it stands out, Lionel Richie was a huge, at the peak of his powers at that point.
Right.
And
Prince played Purple Rain that night.
Prince played Purple Rain, and and Lionel Richie repeatedly used the word outrageous.
Outrageous!
Outrageous! And it was a thing, and people talked about it. We used the word for a couple weeks, and I remember that night being, wow. And of course, we've talked on this show many times about 1984 and 85, and the pop music that came out.
And also, the 85 AMAs are historically significant because right after the show that night, they recorded We Are the World.
They literally cast We Are the World. They decided we were going to record this amazing, we're going to have this night of recording on that night because they knew everybody was in town. They could get all the people they needed easily. I mean, there were people at the American Music Awards that year sort of jockeying to end up at the recording studio to do We Are the World. They all wanted to be all wanted.
Not everybody. Speaking of Prince again.
Prince. Right.
But yeah, it was the AMAs was a big deal. It kind of rivaled the Grammys at that point.
So let's just
Oh, and fun fact, do you know what year had the highest ratings from 74 to now?
My guess it would have to be. It's got to be somewhere in the mid 80s, just because of pop music.
It was 1984. Because that was the year, that was for 83, the awards for 83. That was the Thriller year.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, Thriller, exactly.
Yeah.
I just imagine if you were casting another We Are the World this year.
It'd be pathetic.
I mean, no offense to the people, because there were obviously very talented artists who did show up, but very few. I mean, who would you get to do that?
It would be Jennifer Lopez. Janet Jackson probably wouldn't have done it.
Janet Jackson wouldn't have done it.
It's Rod Stewart and Benson Boone, and that's basically it's a duet.
Boone and Shabuzi. Shabuzi there, and Megan Maroney.
I think Sexy Red was there. Carol G.
By the way, you couldn't even have God, what's his name? Country music, The Voice.
Oh, Blake Shelton?
Blake Shelton, because even though you saw him at the show, that was pre-recorded.
So was Gwen Stefani. She wasn't there either.
And Gwen Stefani wasn't there. It was pre-recorded, so you wouldn't even get those two.
Did you see? I saw a video. It was as an influencer, because they also had a lot of influencers there, and maybe that was partly where they messed up.
They were trying to do that, and it felt so forced. Like Kai Cenat on stage with Alex Earl. It just felt forced.
I saw a video as an influencer in the crowd filming the stage. Well, they had a screen up showing Gwen Stefani, which looked like it was live on air, and she flips the camera around on herself and she goes, "She's not here." Yeah, and honestly, and I've said before, talking about Benson Boone, I like that he's a theatrical performer, that he puts a lot into his stage show. He's got to do something besides the flips.
Besides the backflip?
I've seen him do his backflips.
You want to see like a half inverted twist in the middle of the backflip or something?
Maybe some fancy somersaults and cartwheels. I don't know, but like, it's impressive when he does those backflips, but he does it 2 or 3 times per song, every single award show he's been on, and he will go to all of them. It's not going to drive people to watch that again.
So we should talk a little bit about the business side of this, right? Because ABC loses their licenses up as the carrier of the network that's going to air the American Music Awards. CBS and Paramount buy it, which totally makes sense because they're launching Paramount Plus back then, and they want to have an award show that they can have on there. That's great content to have on your streaming service. So I get why they buy it. But the part I don't understand is, I know there were some contracts and things they had to work out. So that's why they had the break. But when you come back, you need to come back huge. Like, people haven't seen this award show and it's in a new home. So you would want to have the best talent you could have there. So you have this award show going on. You don't have Taylor Swift. You don't have Beyonce. You don't have Chappell Roan. You don't have Billie Eilish. You don't have Sabrina Carpenter, who are all the artists that everybody was talking about this year. You don't have even Drake.
No.
You don't have Kendrick Lamar. You don't have SZA. And
even Billie Eilish, she won 7 awards, more than anybody. She did like live, like hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't even there to get it. It was.
So I think
it was a bad look.
So here's how they can save this, because it's not going to go away. CBS and Paramount paid their money for it, and they're going to make sure they get bang for the buck. I can guarantee they're already talking about how we are going about what's our game plan to make this better next year. Here's a little advice. Don't do it on Memorial Day weekend.
That was a bad idea.
That was a horrible idea. I'm not even talking about for ratings. I'm talking about to get the artists there. When you do it that late into the year, now you're getting into summer. There are already music festivals going. Now you have to compete with those festivals to get the artists there.
Artists are booked. They got plans. They are busy.
They're booked or they're just on vacation, whatever it is. But you're going to have a harder time getting them to come to the show. Second, do it in LA. It's just going to be easier. I know Vegas is not that, it's not that far from here.
But it felt like Vegas when you had all these older artists and like younger artists who maybe aren't full-on headliners just yet, but can draw a crowd who could play a show in Vegas.
Right.
It felt like that. I was laughing. I sent you an article we saw, like really praising how great the show was, and it's like the adult rockers step out, and it was talking about how great Rod Stewart was, and Jennifer Lopez, and Gwen Stefani, and then I realized as I'm reading it what website it was on, AARP.com. So that's the glowing endorsement for the AMAs is the AARP.
I'm glad that the AARP enjoyed it, and I'm glad that their audience enjoyed it, but listen, AMAs, that is not the audience you're going for.
It is not.
You know it.
Particularly the AMAs. The Grammys had a lot of great performances this year. They had all the best new artists perform.
Yeah.
Doechii Cat. Doechii had like a really standout moment.
Great performance.
Yeah, and you had, Chappell Roan with Pink Pony Club was a big moment. The Grammys could almost coast by on having older people because the Grammys has that sort of stuffy air of prestige. Like we're the critics who decide what is worth listening to. The AMAs are fan voted. And that should be where the younger, cooler acts go. Like, that Eminem beat Kendrick Lamar for Best Rap Album. If it was the Grammys, they'd say it's racist and this and that. The AMAs, Kendrick's fans don't care.
Right.
They don't care about calling in to vote or go online to vote about the AMAs for him to win. And that, by extension, Kendrick ain't going to show up.
Right.
Granted, he's on the GNX tour. He's busy right now. But they don't. The artists don't care.
And by the way, I mean, I'm trying to remember. I know Kendrick was here in LA on Friday night. Was the third night.
I have a friend
on
from
Monday
high
night.
school.
Was he? My point
she
is,
lives in Arizona and she went to the tour, so I don't know if she saw them in Arizona or if she traveled somewhere.
What is he? He was in the vicinity of Vegas,
close enough,
and could have gone, but you're not going to get him to.
They could have just been like, "Hey, we're going to go live to Kendrick's concert."
That would have been cool. Like, we're just going to go watch a performance. Like,
which is basically what they did for Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani.
Right.
And so they definitely could have done it.
I just, that's the thing they got to do. So you got to move the date. You got to, and maybe you don't want to do it within, they don't want to compete with, because if you do it too close to the Grammys, there's a rule the Grammys has about artists performing in the area for a certain number of weeks before or after. So maybe you got to do it in November. But in fact, do it in November. Like, it used to be, that's why ABC moved it to November, because they wanted the big rating.
Right.
So for a long time, ABC did do it in November because they could get a good rating on their November sweeps, which is a whole TV ratings thing we're not going to get into. But
even if you're going to do a holiday, you could do Thanksgiving much easier than you could Memorial Day, because Memorial Day people are out.
Yes.
Parties and barbecues and stuff.
November, people are
cold,
home.
You're home with your family.
Right.
Listen to the old people see young artists and go, I don't even know who this is. And then the young kids see Rod Stewart and go, who's this old grandpa on here?
Yeah,
That's the fun.
It doesn't have to be the death of the American Music Awards, but they clearly got to change a lot of things. And maybe, look, under new management, right?
Yeah.
They got to sign out under new management, and they're just getting their sea legs, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. I think they found out a lot of the things that don't work this year.
Watching the AMAs this year, it feels like if you walked into a Kmart in the last couple of years before they all closed. And it's sad because, I remember going to Kmart as a kid, buying toys.
That is a great
but you could be
metaphor.
Like, oh, this is almost over.
Yeah, you're walking around going, definitely going to close.
A lot of empty shelves, a lot of weird people, and you're like, this is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like this was like the Kmart version of the AMAs.
Reminds me of Caldor. You didn't have
no,
Caldor,
I didn't have that on these.
Caldor was
West Virginia.
It was an East Coast thing, and
well, it was on the East Coast. But...
I don't know. It didn't make it all the way to Caldor. Didn't make it to West Virginia. What can I tell you?
Like you're a department store snob, one of those New York. The department stores are better.
Caldor was not snobby at all. Anyone on the East Coast who went, it was the polar opposite of snobby. I bought a pair of sneakers in there where the bottoms fell out. There's nothing more embarrassing than being a child. I know this is a total aside, but nothing more embarrassing than being a child playing kickball and the bottom of your shoes fall out. Boy, you get a lot of jokes for a long time, man.
Did the sole go further than the ball? Did it go?
I was running the bases. I was already on because I already got a hit, man, or a kick. Anyway, yes, it doesn't have to be the death of the American Music Awards, and you gotta make deals with these big artists,
Right. And I do think a lot of them, though, I think we're seeing a generation of artists who really genuinely just don't care about award shows.
They don't care about award shows, but if you're the American Music Awards, this is your sell. This is your sell to these artists. We are voted on by the fans. These are the people who go to your shows. These are the people who stream your music. If there's a show you want to be there for, this is the one.
Yeah.
This is not a stuffy show, and we're gonna do different things, and we're like.
And if you're an
They gotta
artist
sell
who
'em
doesn't win Grammys, which is weird because Billie Eilish won all of them this year,
Right.
This is your chance to win stuff.
Mhm.
Do you know who the most winningest artist in AMA history is?
I mean, I would
Over 40.
guess.
Over 40 awards, I mean.
I mean, I would guess it's since Beyonce's won the most Grammys, right? I would guess it's Beyonce.
It's Taylor Swift.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense too.
But obviously, it's going to be an act. And Michael Jackson's up there. It's artists with strong fan bases who care about voting for them for things.
So they just gotta look. You gotta change the date. You gotta change your sales pitch clearly to the management of these artists. And by the way, keep the host. Jennifer was great as
Yeah, she did a good
as
job.
hosting these things go. She did a great job. She
Yeah.
looked amazing, and she stood in when all the other artists wouldn't show up. She performed to their songs.
Although one of the things that got some headlines was in her opening montage, she made out with her dancers, a male dancer and a female dancer. To me, it just felt like a rehash of the Britney Spears, Madonna, Christina Aguilera thing.
It felt pressing. It felt like they were pressing, and by the way, that was kind of the warning sign that we gotta. It's like right off the bat, we gotta do something shocking because we don't have artists here. So
But that wasn't even shocking. Like, it might have been 20 years ago, but
And
now
they-
it's like, okay.
that's another thing they would need to reconsider. Don't do things just for shock value. Do it because you're getting great performances. It's like the Grammys has this title, this unofficial title that they use, like music's greatest night,
Biggest night, I think.
music's biggest night. And to me, it does always seem like just a big concert, right? And they present a few awards. Most of the Grammys are given off the air, and it's about having great music performances. You can do the same thing, American Music Awards.
But even that's where the American Music Awards could win, because the Grammys has these great music moments, but then they always have to have, like, the classical cello tribute to Herbie
American
Hancock
Music
or
Awards
whatever.
doesn't have any of that.
No, they're like, hey, here's the pop people that you like. And that was another thing, another mistake with
There's the
Memorial Day.
title.
What?
American Music Awards, the pop music you love.
There you go.
Boom.
There you go.
I'm not saying, look, we're
The
under,
artists you love, the songs you know.
we're under contract here, so we can't officially do anything.
We'll do
to
some
help you.
consulting, some side
But
consulting.
yeah,
That
give
was
us a call.
another issue with putting on a Memorial Day. And to honor Memorial Day, they had that whole section near the front of the stage with all the soldiers.
And I get
Which
that
is-
they had
is
to do that.
good.
Yes, and it was good.
But it created this very kind of somber atmosphere. And like Dan and Shay won Best Country Duo. And like, we got to thank our soldiers that are right there in front of us. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly what you're saying, and I felt like
It should be screaming teenagers.
they had to do it. They definitely had to do it because it was Memorial Day, but
that's
it
not
just
what the
it's
AMAs are.
not a place.
The Oscars
for
could do that. The Grammys could even do that.
Mhm.
But the AMAs, it should be
A party.
screaming, squealing fans because BTS is getting back together.
A
on
party
stage.
for the pop music you love. Come on, people.
Yeah.
That's it. There's the
all
whole
it has to be.
title.
All it has to be.
All right. So
I think we've solved it.
we've solved it. I hope that they're paying attention. And next year, it's got to be better. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And it makes me feel bad because I love Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart is a legend. He absolutely deserves all the awards. I think he's great. Maybe underappreciated, honestly, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
It made him seem so much older than he even is.
Yeah, it really
Because,
did.
and I've seen all these people being like, who is this old man they drug out? I'm like, and that's me being an old man. I'm like, put some respect on Rod Stewart's name.
There was someone in our office who, I'll just say, is normally sitting in here, and he's not today, who said in the morning meeting, who's Rod Stewart?
I
was
bet
like,
you he knows
boy,
Do You
if
Think I'm
Eric was
Sexy?
here.
Oh, that hurts me. Rod
Yeah.
Stewart has decades and decades of hits.
But this is the problem that the American Music Awards got to deal with. So
yeah.
we'll try to be as positive as possible and hope that they get it. But there's too much power and influence that comes with the Paramount name that you can't tell me that they can't influence and get these big time artists there.
And
that's just how Hollywood works.
Especially like pop is having a little bit of a resurgence with Sabrina Carpenter and Chappell Roan and Benson Boone and all these people. This is the time to get these people. This is a pop music show, basically. Like that's what I said. Eminem beating Kendrick Lamar for hip hop. It's the AMA. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
exactly.
Nobody cares about who wins the awards at the AMAs. It's the artists showing up for the fans, and they got to get back to that.
Things can only get better, to quote the great Howard Johnson.
Howard Jones. Put some respect on his name. It's okay, Charles. No one is to blame.
I used to do. Oh, see what he did there? All right.
If you do, you're also old. So
that is going to do it for us this week. Our best to the American Music Awards
and to Charles's childhood shoes.
Yes, those things were ugly as hell. We'll see you next time.